Hey guys, how's it going? Eli here, back with another video where today we're going to be doing a market update in regards to just everything going on in the Pokemon market. Without further ado, let's just jump right into it. So, getting out of the way, we do weekly giveaways, and today we're going to be announcing our 3 winners. As always, you want to enter in. Make sure you leave a like, comment down below, and be subscribed to the YouTube channel. Of course, comment on pre-recorded videos that we post Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. You can comment and like on each of those, which allows you for multiple entries. And then we have 3 winners as well that each receive 12 Astral Radiance booster packs. So a shout out to those 3 winners because today is Monday and that is when we announce who it is. So without further ado, a little bit of a drum roll. Chaz-tastic, Lord Bulbasaur, and then iSkilled99. First off, I want to give a shout out to Lord Bulbasaur. He's been following the channel for a while, so really stoked to see regulars win. And then, of course, shout out to the other 2 as well for winning. So, as always, I'm more responsive on Discord, but I will respond on email. Just shoot me a message, give me a little bit of verification, and then I will send you out your packs. I actually just shipped out the packs for last week, so I apologize for the slight delay on that. I've been super busy this week. Which leads me into one announcement I'm actually going to make. So shortly after the airing of this video, we are going to have a drop, which is going to be for our regional polls data spreadsheet. So I'm going to be making a video explaining in depth how people are going to go through this, but for a while now, we've been talking about wanting to put together a project of having people compile their information on regional poll rates, because we do believe there is potentially, this is of course a theory, but there is potentially a difference in poll rates depending upon where you live. So we actually broke it down into 5 different categories of location. So your standard like Midwest, West, Southeast, etc., etc. And we're going to be compiling information using a calculated algorithm that me and shout out to John Boy, more specifically, he's kind of the one that's in charge of the algorithm for the spreadsheet, but I wouldn't have been able to do it without him, so shout out to him on that. But yeah, that's going to be dropping pretty soon here. I already have the link available, and if you want to, you can directly message me if you want to have access to either viewable, or if you want to share your information to add it to the spreadsheet, then feel free to reach out to me. Give me kind of the information of what part of the country you live in, the packs, etc., etc., if you want to partake in this. And then, of course, we'll allow you to view all this information as it's being calculated in real time. So, but I'll be doing an intro video for that. So without further ado, now getting to the main part of the video, which is going to be a market update. Sorry about the longer intro, but wanted to get that announcement out. So we're really just going to be going all over the place and discussing everything that's going on. The first thing I kind of wanted to discuss was just the overall state or just sentiment around the market. It's very interesting to me because you have a sentiment around the market, and I talked about this on my last video with Pokemon Go set, right? The Pokemon Go set, you haven't seen a lot of hype. You know, a lot of people in the comments of the last video actually were like, nah, I'm super hyped for it. So that's good to hear. Ironically enough, of course, the Golden V-Star Mewtwo gets literally announced 10 minutes after I post my video. So that is kind of ironic. But it does look like there's a little bit more hype. That also, of course, will add to it. So hopefully we can kind of turn this franchise around with that. Astral Radiance, interestingly enough, as I mentioned before, a lot of the sentiment I've seen has been very negative. But the price of the booster box has stopped dropping, and I know it's only been about a week, but most of the time it would still continuously drop, and it's gone down from 100 and is now up to 108. And honestly, I think the reason for that, and I could be completely off base, but I think there's a little bit of how do I want to say this, mischievous going on within the current Pokemon market. Now I know that what I'm going to be saying is completely speculative, but I want to kind of point this out for those people that don't already know. Obviously, it's on the front page how Machamp became the #1 card in Astral Radiance, but the Machamp card has absolutely gone up in value. Like, absolutely. It went from $40 all the way to $133, so you're talking about a 3x return. We're seeing that with the Hisuian Beedrill as well, or sorry, just a standard Beedrill. That is also currently doubled in value. Let's take away direct by TCG player. Yep, that's doubled in value. And then speaking of Hisuian, which is what I was trying to get to, the Hisuian Sneasel. That card has also started to go down in value, or go up in value, and its literal lowest point is $70. It's That's insane to me. And if you look at some of the most recent sales of it, I mean, within the past 4 days, it has sold at those prices. Now, here's what's very interesting to me. And this is where we get into the speculative phase of this video, because I do want to have a conversation about this news. A lot of people are of the notion that it's a buyout. And although this article, if you go in and read it, they try and give you an example of what a buyout looks like, saying that there's in large quantities versus this is individual quantities. Just because it's a large quantity versus an individual doesn't change anything, because you have specific buyout groups that are like of 30 to 50 people that will go in and each person will buy one of it. And if you actually look at the individual chart itself, and you see where a lot of the sales volume lies. And now who knows, maybe there's an argument to be made that the market deemed it undervalued, which it's entirely possible that that could happen. But if you just look at the day specifically, 5/27, you have literally from the start of the day, and you scroll a large amount of buy volume. And then going into the 28th, you have even more buy volume. So it was like almost 2 days specifically of just a rapid amount of that card being bought up at that price. And honestly, an argument for the 28th even more, because it was twice the amount as the 27th. And then going into it by the 29th, literally it went 1 day of 60, 2 days 60, 75, 125. So that's just a massive jump in price, right? Obviously, you can say there's this 80. Probably someone just listed it right away, got bought out immediately. But then after that, look at the buy volume on it. It's not that high. 530, 4 days, not that high. 531, a little bit better. Actually, there's a pretty decent amount of buy volume, 531. But then you go 6-1, it's about 4 sales. 6-2, about 3 sales. 6-3, a decent amount, but nothing crazy, like 10 sales. 6-4, you've got about 7 sales. 6-5, you've got about 5 sales. So other than 1 day in particular, most of the sales volume on this was not nearly as extreme as the one buyout day. And if you also look at the overall listings for this card, specifically in near mint condition, there's only 23 listings. And you might say, well, Eli, there's only 23. That's a lot. That's not a lot for a brand new set. And if you take a look at a lot of these listings, look at 0%, 0%, 0%, 0%, 0%, 0%, 0%. The amount of people that literally opened a TCG player account after pulling this card is extremely high. So you have just a large amount of people that basically, more than likely, bought up these cards. Then they're relisting them. And I could be off base with this. I could be 100% off base. I mean, you look at all these sale listings and you say to yourself, okay, well, each one individual only is selling 1. There's no one person that's selling 30. So it could be a collective effort, considering the fact that, you know, coincidentally enough, there is a large amount of them that have 0% listing, 0% listing, 0% listing, 0% listing, 0% listing, 3% listing, 0% listing. I don't know about you guys. I am 0% listing. I'm not an expert in regards to buyouts, but when more than 50% of the people that are selling the card as it stands right now are currently at a 0% sales rate because they have made 0 sales, it has me to believe that this was a effort of, you know, it was a buyout effort, you know. Of course, like I said, this is speculative. I could be 100% wrong about this. And then you say, well, what's next? Beedrill. We can take a look at Beedrill. Now, this is where it gets even more interesting with Beedrill. Is so, although you have less of the 0%, you only have about 2 or 3. There are still only, make that 4, 5. Actually, you have a decent amount of 0%, but there's only 2 pages of sales data. And the second page isn't even a full page yet. And if you want to go back and you want to take a look at the sales data on this as well, and the specific sales by volume, I mean, it's very fascinating to kind of see, because like I had mentioned before with the Machamp, you had a large amount of sales volume going on 527, right? You're seeing a very similar large amount of sales volume on 527, a massive amount on 527, and then a massive amount on 528. Then once again, you're leading into 529, a massive amount of sales volume. Wow, that's a lot of sales volume. And then going into 530, I mean, you just had a massive amount of volume on this specific card. And then going into 31, so literally 3 days of massive sales volume. That's very interesting. Going into day 31, that's where you start to see it slows down a little bit. Especially as the price rose. Now, it wasn't like this immediate, like, you know, with the Machamp, only, you know, 3 days, or sorry, 3 sales in a day, 4 sales in a day, 5 sales in a day, but you still saw a significant drop. I mean, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So it's not like as drastic, but it's a decent amount. So you saw something very similar to the Beedrill, but not as drastic as the Machamp. And my honest opinion of this is I personally think it's because the Machamp itself was a coordinated effort, and now there's going to be a potential chain effect that happens because obviously at first it was the Machamp, and now you're seeing the Beedrill. And if we go look at the article that they listed, they obviously used the Machamp, and then following it up, what was the next example they gave was the Beedrill, having the exact same thing happen. And then what do we now know of? And I mean, we can look at the daily chart. I don't think it's really going to represent it much, but you can see that there was a large spike around the 30th, 31st, and then continuing on. If you want to go back, take a look once again at the Machamp, we can see that the spike in sales volume was actually right before, which, I mean, that just kind of leads to my argument. Once again, 27th, 28th, like I said, then leading into 29th. So 1 day, so you had 1 day prior the Machamp started to climb, and then following day you started to see the exact same thing happen with the Beedrill. You take a look at the Hisuian Sneasel. We take a look at the sales volume on that. This is after the release date. It kind of went flat, kind of went flat, kind of went flat. Oh, what do you know? Starting on June 1st, more specifically, June 2nd, June 3rd, June 4th, same exact thing started to happen. So it literally went Machamp, then Beedrill, then Hisuian, and here's where we get into more speculative waters, in my opinion, on what's going to happen with buyouts. You could potentially see the exact same thing happen with the Hisuian. Lilligant, of course, this is once again speculative, not financial advice, not a financial advisor. And you could potentially see the exact same thing happen with either the Origin Palkia form, or you could see that happen with the Dialga. It's very interesting to see that it specifically hasn't happened to either of these. But it wouldn't surprise me, to say the least, if you really saw that happen. If you were to ask me, like, you know, Eli, if you were to put money on it, which of the 3 do you think is most likely to pop off? You know, I gotta imagine it's either gonna be. I feel like more than likely, the more obvious pick would be the Palkia because of the artwork. But to be quite frank with you, I just have a more inclination to the Lilligant because I just think it's cheaper. It'll be easier to buy out. But also at the same exact time, I think it's really going to come down to the page volume. And kind of what it's going to look like. But I mean, this is, like I said, this is speculative, but we're just seeing a large amount of these buyouts just kind of pop up out of nowhere. And also as well, seeing how many listings too. I mean, look, there's 4 listings of this one. There's 4 listings. So there's a very low amount of listings for or a high amount of listings for this one. Pages, this has 5 pages. So you talk about the Lilligant from Astral, and you're talking about the fact that it's only got 3 pages, and it goes all the way up to like what, $29-$30 from the low point being 23, 24. This just seems like it's ripe for targeting in regards to a buyout. Someone with easily a couple $1,000s could come in and just sweep this, or a buy group could come in and absolutely sweep this. So it just makes sense to me that that's something you're going to see. And honestly, I mean, once again, going back to it with Astral booster box prices, I mean, obviously it's been sideways. It looks like we went up a little bit. So we definitely have seen at least a short-term bottom, but there's definitely a little bit of tomfoolery, to say the least, with what's going on with Astral Radiance, the booster box set. And maybe it's because the market right now is trying to calculate the value of what Astral Radiance is, because the pull rates are a lot better than what people were expecting. And so the sentiment hopefully has started to change with it. But yeah, that's just something I thought was very interesting. I wanted to kind of make people aware of it. I kind of wanted to give a little bit of a discussion about it as far as a market update, because this is something that's very interesting to see. So not financial advice, not financial advisor, but I'm going to make a prediction and say that that the Hisuian, what did I say? Was it the Lily? Is that what I said it was? Gosh dang it, how am I already forgetting the name? Yeah, the Hisuian Lilligant. Yeah, I got a prediction that's going to happen next. But yeah, outside of that, other market update, I had a conversation with my sales rep talking about Brilliant Star. He says that there is no form of update as it stands right now in regards to the reprint they're expecting. It looks like it's more than likely confirmed to be happening for Brilliant Star. However, surprisingly, it looks like, or maybe unsurprisingly, it looks like it's going to be pushed back a little bit further. So we were expecting more of early June before we kind of had that reprint. It's now going to more than likely be middle back end of June is what the expectation now is. So sadly, we're going to have to wait a little bit more on that. Prices, once again, since we kind of last had a discussion, they just had a rebound from, dropping a little bit, like literally a just rebound. And it's insane to me how quickly it rebounded. Now, it's a great set. There's high demand for this set. But it just is astonishing to me that you're starting to see all this happen. Evolving Skies really has been kind of sideways and down, actually, which is actually really healthy to see, especially considering I did make that video not that long ago talking about when you're looking at this from a charting perspective, you could see a double top formation if we're talking about, which people think I'm crazy, but there's a lot of correlations in charting, surprisingly enough, in regards to crypto and Pokemon and the stock market. They all follow charts from a very similar perspective when you're talking about general demand and stuff. So definitely a fun thing to kind of take a look at. But overall, obviously still waiting for reprints on that. Nothing new to kind of discuss. But one other thing I kind of wanted to discuss for this video, and this is going to be the main rest of the discussion for the day, is I saw that Rudy from Alpha Investments, it wasn't a long discussion, but it was a discussion nonetheless about Pokemon, and he was talking about the sentiment in regards to Pokemon and how he believes that as we go, and I'm going to give my commentary on this, as we go into a more than likely bearish cycle, or I don't think a bearish cycle is right, but you start to see general demand for Pokemon product and people purchasing. He said, for example, his patrons were, still buying from him, but not as much as they used to before. He believes that the Pokemon company is going to need to tighten up on the overall supply in which they're printing, or else it could be disastrous in regards to an overinflationary period of product. And then on top of that as well, he also was discussing how Astral's performing a lot better. Thankfully, it seems like there's a decent amount of demand for it. The rollout of it was super successful in his opinion. And then also, he believes that there's a little bit of a misrepresentation on the purchasing of the Millennium Print Group, and how the expectation is that machine go burr, as he liked to say, was the expectation a lot of people were having, but instead the whole purchase of it was just to get behind a lot of control in regards to being able to be a lot more efficient with their rollouts of reprints and so on and so forth. And so there's a lot of it. That's a lot to take in and a lot for me to kind of give my criticisms about. I mean, I've always been a big fan of Rudy. For those people that have known me for a while, I say a lot of the similar things that he kind of discusses. The one thing I will say, though, that I would disagree with, and I mean, he's not as invested in Pokemon as much as we are, and he's more of a Magic guy, but he still, he still listens to everything going on with Pokemon. I would say that the biggest issue is right now we are in need of reprints, though. Although I agree, if you do start to see demand go down for a lot of the Pokemon product, and you start to see, disastrous prices for, and it sounds great for everyone, but in the long run, it's disastrous for LGS stores, because the thing is, guys, back in the day, if booster boxes were $80, $86, LGS's online retailers, they were buying booster boxes for 70, 72, 76 bucks. They were still able to turn a profit. You're talking about, 86 to 100 back then. You can turn a profit. It won't be a large profit. It'll be anywhere between 5 to 15 bucks, but you could make it work, right? Sometimes even more, depending upon what your actual buy sale price was. Versus you're talking about nowadays where the price is at $86. Some places $90 for a good amount of distributor pages, and you're saying booster boxes drop into below $100. That's not really good margins for most people. Now, of course, this was a one-wave rollout, so it's very interesting to see. I think that honestly, I agree with Rudy. I think Astral Radiance, the booster box, has definitely been a very successful rollout. Very interesting to see the demand on the Elite Trainer box has gone down. It'll be really fun to see what the value of that's going to be compared to the Astral Radiance booster box, because, we're talking about one-for-one reprint, and as I've mentioned before, guys, one of the reasons why I like ETBs typically more than booster boxes is because they tend to get less print, and that's one of the reasons why it tends to outperform from a dollar value perspective, from a percentage perspective, even though if you took away the reprints, booster boxes do better. We're taking away, as far as it goes right now, those reprints. Astral Radiance booster boxes might outperform the ETBs, at least in the short term, unless they were to get some form of a reprint. So that'll be very fascinating to see, because there isn't any sort of news right now as a Wave 2 happening or just any sort of print of that. So agree with him, successful rollout. I do agree with him that the Pokemon Company, I do think it's good that you start to scale back and not, crash things to the ground. For a set like Astral Radiance, but I definitely think that for high demand sets, and he'll probably agree with me on this, but who knows? It's not like he's watching this video. That'd be funny if he was and he commented down below. But Brilliant Stars booster boxes, Evolving Skies, these are a lot more high demand sets. If these sets would go down, let's say they had a reprint, right? And in the short term, they would go down to $100, $110, $120. People are buying them for around that $86 price point. That's still good enough margins for people to be able to make money on the way down as they're putting up pre-sales for it, as they're selling it, right before the price starts to correct. And then you start to see that kind of crash as a lot of these, Safari Zone and other places that still have those contracts for cheaper booster boxes, because some LGS stores do have access to cheaper booster boxes because they are on older prices. I don't know the full details of how that works necessarily, but I do know some places are still able to sell for $82, $86 and still turn a profit, whereas most newer retailers, because there has been a large amount of retailers, both online and LGSs, that have opened up new accounts with distributors, and so that's why a large portion of them are closed off. So it's definitely something to take into consideration when you're talking about seeing price movement, but I digress with that. We're talking, Fusion Strike, $90, nothing crazy, right? Chilling Rain broke above $100. Vivid Voltage is pushing $140. Here, let me change this filter to sealed product. Then you're talking as well, Battle Styles is above $90. Remember when that was all the way almost down to $75? Darkness Ablaze is at $140. So you're really starting to see a lot of these booster box prices go up. Now, I'm not saying that we should do reprints, of course, for Darkness Ablaze, Vivid Voltage, because those are about to go out of rotation, right? From a competitive perspective, if you wanted to get in cheap, then you should have gotten in back in December. But for sets like Brilliant Star, Evolving Skies, these sets are gonna need their reprints. We already know this. I'm preaching to the choir, but this is just a direct response that I'm having to basically Rudy's video and his kind of market update video. And it's ironic because he literally made the market video yesterday, and I was already planning on making one, so it's quite convenient that I'm able to respond to it and kind of give a little bit of my own 2 cents in regards to what he was saying. So yeah, you're definitely seeing a very interesting sentiment in the market right now, because it's almost like there's negativity for a lot of the stuff that's coming out, and some people are constantly, here's the thing about the Pokemon Company, or not Pokemon Company, but the Pokemon hobby. It is very much an emotional market. It's very much a camp-based market, kind of like with stocks and cryptos. In cryptos, for those people that don't know, you've got people that are like, I'm all about this coin. If you're not in this coin, then you don't know what you're talking about. This is the future. Same exact thing with this. If you're not part of Gen 1, base sets the future. I don't know what you're talking about. If you're not part of, you talk about YouTubers that literally make their living off of just being, divisive towards other ends of the spectrum, and kind of everyone being in their own base camp with that, and also individuals as well that will make their living solely off of just, pumping out to the moon on all of their products, saying that if you invest in this one specific item, you're going to be rich forever no matter what. Which, of course, we talk about investment strategies on this channel, playing the wave and stuff like that. But I'm never going to tell you if you only invest in one item, then you'll never have to worry for the rest of your life. We talk about this as there is risk in this hobby, and this is a long-term game. But going into the point that I was making with this is this is a very emotional hobby. And you do see a lot of people with their sentiments, and so it's very interesting to hear a lot of it with Pokemon Twitter and just Pokemon, YouTube and everything. You've got your Astral Radiance haters. Some people are just stuck in their ways on it. They hate it. Some people have changed their opinion, and some people have always been on the side of, I think it's great. And the people that changed their opinion, like myself, it was once you started to see the pull rates. And Pokemon Go, obviously we got the gold Mewtwo, so hopefully we're going to see a little bit of a sentiment change around that. I think that's going to definitely add some value. Of course, once again, I like to refrain from giving full opinions. I just give sentiment on what I know from right now in the market. Did the same thing about Astral. So hopefully we can start to see that change. But at the end of the day, it's like you're seeing good things happen in the Pokemon market, but you're seeing a lot of negativity still in it. And I think that really just comes down to prices. I think that a lot of people are so bitter about the fact that UPC prices are expensive, Brilliant Star prices are expensive, Evolving Skies prices are expensive, and although you're starting to see good new things happen with Astral and Pokemon Go, people are so stuck in their ways of the 3 items I just listed. They could care less about everything else because they need to have their reprints. They need to have that thing at affordable. If I can't get my UPC reprint, then it's the end of the world, And don't get me wrong, we all want that. It's not like we want that. Everyone except for Nostalgianomics, who's just sitting on a large amount of them, which, it's a good opportunity to sell and then rebuy at a lower price, but just making a fun joke about that. But in regards to reprints, we do all want that stuff, and I do think that depending upon prices on these items, it is healthy for the market because the demand is extremely high for these 3 specific items. Is the UPC likely, like I talked about in the video, and I made a update on it, and I'll make this update on a pre-recorded video, but I made the update on the live stream. It looks like it was just a small restock. It wasn't a reprint from Australia, so more than likely you're not going to see that UPC. It was already more of a long shot to begin with, but it still gave you a little bit of hope, but there goes that hope. Rebel Clash, we're still hoping for that, but UPC is unlikely at this point. But Evolving Skies, Brilliant Star, we're still holding our breath for that one because we could see prices come down on those 2 items. But yeah, no, it's just a weird time in the market. There's a lot of sentiment shift and a lot of negativity that is to be had. And, like I said before, you're going to see, of course, what's going to happen with Astral, then Pokemon Go, then whatever the English variation of Phantasma is going to be. That's going to be, the next kind of 3 sets. And then you're going to have the finale set for the Sword and Shield era before we start going into Scarlet Violet. It's going to be one of these things where there's going to be, of course, this is my opinion, less demand for these future sets. You could see something with whatever the finale set is, and I'm expecting it to be some form of a VMAX, Climax / potential Shining Fates, Hidden Fates, 5.0 kind of set, because it would really be cool if they did throw in some shiny cards, such as like, a shiny VMAX Mew or a shiny VMAX Rayquaza or a shiny, of course, V-Star Charizard, because you know how they are. They're going to have to throw in a shiny V-Star Charizard at some point. But yeah, no, these next 3 sets are definitely going to set the tone. And with Astral Radiance having a lot lower supply, there's that expectation. Pokemon Go had a slightly lower supply, but nothing really that much of that is of notice. So maybe it's because it's a specialty set and they're really hoping there's going to be a high demand for it, because who knows what the rest of the cards are going to be. I think the Pokemon company has done a really good job at gauging demand based on print. But you know, and then whatever Phantasma is going to be. Those three are going to really set the tone, in my opinion, for the future of honestly the next year to couple of years of the just Pokemon hobby, because this is very much a momentum driven hobby. When you have a set like literally the set release went Shining Fates, Battle Styles, Chilling Reign, Evolving Skies, Celebrations, Fusion Strike, and Brilliant Star. Say what you want about Battle Styles, and I understand there's a lot of hate around it. I still think it's a solid set, all things considered, because it was the first to introduce these new form of alternate arts. But even if you take that set out and say that set sucks or whatever, just listen to the names I listed that were for 2021 and then start of 2022. Shining Fates, Evolving Skies, Chilling Reign, some people like, some people don't, whatever. Celebrations, Brilliant Star, of course, Fusion Strike, once again, one of those sets some people like, some people don't. But it's not too often you get these such high amount of good sets all back to back to back. I mean, you obviously, the last time you saw that, of course, was at the start of the Sun and Moon, or near the end of the Sun and Moon. You had Hidden Fates, Cosmic, Unbroken Bonds. Once we got into Tag Team, basically, is when you started to see that kind of turnaround. But we had a lot of also good sets near the back end of the Sword and Shield era. So you had a large amount of momentum. And that also started off the Sword and Shield era was, you know, the momentum of, you know, what was going on with Sun and Moon and how amazing the set is. And then it started to slow down, and then Pandemic brought it back up. So it'll be interesting to see if there's going to be any sort of factors that are going to change any sort of negative potential sentiment. But unless Pokemon Go begins to be an absolute banger, or we get some exciting new announcement in regards to this amazing specialty set, or something happens with the English version of Dark Phantasma, then I'm going to start to make predictions on a slowdown in the future sets. And, you know, the question is, of course, is it a good thing if they print less? Is it a bad thing? You know, it'll hurt people that are allocated product at the end of the day, because you're going to be getting less of it, and that's going to suck. So I think you should basically be just printing for as much as people are willing to take and sell. I think that's a good thing, but also at the same time, also making sure there's that fine balance, making sure you don't overprint just because certain people are wanting to buy it, and then all of a sudden it starts to just crash prices at the end of the day. But as far as it goes, that is kind of the main points for today's video. I'll just give my, once again, final thoughts. Astral Radiance, a little bit of market manipulation in regards to what's going on with a lot of these alternate arts. It'll be interesting to see what's next with some of the other ones. Like I said, I think Lilligant is prime for a potential buyout. Updated news on Brilliant Star booster boxes. We're going to more than likely see that reprint pushed back to middle of June, according to what my sales rep is telling me. No sort of new information in regards to Evolving Skies reprints coming in larger quantities. And then UPC, as I briefly discussed, it was a small amount that was being thrown in from Australia. It was not a full-on reprint. And then lastly, you know, my kind of sentiment towards the market, both kind of giving my general response to Rudy and just my own. I think that the next couple of sets are really going to determine if we're going to see a slowdown in this market, because this is very much a momentum-based market. You had a large hot streak of really good sets within 2021 to the start of 2022. I think you could potentially see that slow down depending upon what happens with Pokemon Go and then Dark Phantasma. So, but who knows with that? Only time will tell. But as far as it goes, that is all I have for today's video. As always, you want to enter into the weekly giveaways. Make sure you leave a like, comment down below, and be subscribed to the YouTube channel. Post content for you to like and comment on each and every week, Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. We're going to have 3 winners on top of that each and every week that will each be winning 12 Astral Radiance booster packs. So multiple opportunities to enter and multiple opportunities to win. So, but thank you guys all so much for watching. Until then, I will see you all on Wednesday. Peace.